Sure am.
So previously on A Song of Ice and Fire, the Caladan Chronicles, Season 2, um, we started off with some conversationing and Kevin replacing Dorian Willem in the 7v7. Um, and direction. Um, and then we did the fight. It was beautiful. We didn't lose anybody, or nobody died or anything. There was a few yields on the enemy side, and then it all turned into a mass yield after people started getting their ass kicked. Um, and then Sir Rain, or Lord Rain, or whatever way, decided that we fought unfairly and that we need to now die, and ordered all of his archers to shoot. To which all of the other knights was like, no, this isn't cool, and shouted no. Where, I forget which one, Damon
Damon
Payne,
Payne.
that's the one. He took his knife and held it to Lord Rain's throat and said, nobody shoot, or he gets it. So we left, and then Damon Payne commenced throwing himself off of the battlements with Sir Rain, killing Lord Rain, and he burnt a destiny point, clearly, to survive. Then we conversed on how we were going to deal with getting back to the Reach and High Garden, involving this lovely man and this lovely man, for they both have coastal homes which may have a boat for us, and they may be able to get a boat for us, to which then we can sail gloriously. We have a lot of wounded, and yeah, it's looking somewhat hairy, I must say. But it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And that was round about it, really.
One correction.
Yeah.
The Westerlanders don't use archers, they use crossbowmen. So Lord Rain wanted them to ready his crossbowmen against us, okay?
All right. They wanted to pepper us with many, many heavy crossbow bolts. There you go. That
Thank
was
you, I
that was
really
my
appreciate that. Yeah,
yeah.
my
All
attention to detail there is pretty
right.
spectacular.
What a great nerd voice.
It's very similar to Jonas's nerd voice, actually.
They're the same person.
They're the same person. No.
Spoilers.
So, it has been 2 days since you begun your flight. You've managed to take about 3 horses from a guard post, and some food, even some water skins. The poor guards will have to explain that to the people who find the corpses. The wounded have been given priority on riding and also on receiving the most food, trying to basically give them as high as possible a chance of survival. Meanwhile, I believe that the Wren is actually taking a look at them as the only really skilled or even moderately trained healer.
Yes,
The
because
party.
with our degree we have it. I am, the skilled healer. Kevin has 3, so Kevin could treat some people who are like lessly wounded but still might want treating.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely doing the 2 who are critically wounded.
The road is good. It is one of the golden roads you're traveling on, down the mountain, really. Sort of always a slope down, making it easier than to always having to trek up. So that part is at least nice. The party, however, is in a strange mood. As the day goes by, it goes from sort of a jubilant and happy general mood to a more exhausted and tired and more, well, nobody really wants to say that this is a doomed endeavor, but perhaps many think it, or feel it, somewhat. There's a cat here. Where was I? Well, anyway, The slopes of the mountains and hills sort of carry a promise with them as you go up and down, traveling, uh, mostly down anyway. And that is that perhaps over the next ridge, perhaps just across the next hill, you will be able to see the ocean. The sea, a promise of some relief. Can you reach the sea? That will not be too far until you can perhaps sail on it. And from there it will surely be an easy stride back to the Manda, up the Manda, and to Highgarden, your goal. Always, however, as you look behind you, up the slopes, you see little fires burning. Sometimes, in the very distant, you hear what sounds like the bark of a dog or the cry or yell from some man, probably finding a track or knowing somehow which direction you went, telling his companions. A horn blows in the distance as you travel along. Other than that, the land seems much as when you went through it last. Almost no villages, just scattered small guard posts, though they are thinly manned. Most can simply be passed, and those that are not passed, well, have ill fortune fighting against your number, which is greater than theirs, and certainly also has better quality. With that, though, let's take more of an individual look at your characters and say what exactly do you sort of do across this travel? Who do you try to spend some time with? Where are you located in the party as we see traveling here, and why?
I can easily say Alaric's with going in between Everin and Sir Ashra. Try to stay jolly for his son, but struggling with everything that's he knows he's going to have to put up with in the future, with horrors that we could face. But he tends to try and talk as much as he can, at least.
How does he feel about getting this far in the mission he set out to do? How's his mood really like? What's his inner thoughts? We could see them for a moment.
I think he's seeing it as it's going great, but don't count your chickens till they've hatched. Because there's too many variables for him to think that we're almost clear now. But definitely, it seems like the hardest has at least gotten behind us now. I mean, getting into Castamere and out was kind of daunting, and I guess everything just looks awful still. But he's trying to look at it on the bright side.
Yes, perhaps becomes a bit of a cynic in his old age, or older age anyway.
You know, he's seen some shit, and perhaps he just expects bad things to happen these days.
All right, so he's sort of trying to fight against his inner pessimist,
Yes.
as being a little overly optimistic.
Yeah.
Outwards.
Yeah, he's trying to be optimistic to the surface, but
He's not that good at deceiving, though, so
No,
perhaps
he's
people
not.
can sort of feel that he's not really meaning it. You know, the
yeah, the half-hearted laughs and the yeah, not great.
exhausted smiles.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyone else? Those crickets are really loud.
These people, man.
I'll just roll my
Ren?
injury rolls. Fuck it. I know.
What about Ren?
Ren has been definitely more confident on these few days back. His mood brighter than when you first when you were first going to Castamere, changing from a optimism of We can do this. We can probably survive this too. We have survived this. I am a knight now. This is awesome. But now we have to get back. Where he knows there's still danger ahead, but possibly like the excitement and pride is kind of nulling that away, where he's not really feeling that pressure anymore, so much as the determination to get back and to bask in the glory of his new title.
Does he feel any pressure when he is the many hours he spends taking care of the wounded in between stops, or when food is had and you actually stop for that, or when you're laying camp, and he sort of knows in a way that his skill at healing these people, at helping them, is the best that the group has got, and so if any of these people die, these important, famous people, then in some way it'll be because he couldn't save them.
In some respects, he does. So most certainly, normally he would be a lot more kind of worried by that, but the same kind of delusion, I guess, is kind of shielding him in a sense from feeling too much at the moment. He's confident in his skills, which is only being reinforced right now. And, as much as he knows he's the only real shot they've got, at the same time, he's the only shot they've got. So, in a sense, he almost feels his position's been raised slightly because people are relying on him. He's almost got a more important position at the current second.
Uh-huh. People are learning his name because, he's the guy who can take care of them when they're dying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he's generally optimistic then about the whole thing.
Yes, he's been quite optimistic, spending most of his time kind of bouncing back and forth between the two critically wounded, and then other than that, kind of hovering near Alaric for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Going next to the person who is one of the biggest beacons, except for the highest person who actually makes him nervous.
Yeah.
He's not talking to Leo Tyrell when that's addressed first.
What about Varen?
Yes.
How's he feeling?
Varen is both mentally and physically exhausted after the battle they had. He gave everything he had in that fight, and he feels like something has sort of slipped away from him in a bit. He doesn't really talk to anyone for the first couple of days of the journey. Just came to himself, sort of looking like half asleep almost at certain points. When he does return to somewhat his normal self, though, he kind of feels like it was a miracle that this plan actually succeeded, and it really shouldn't have. And now we just have to get home and hope we don't capsize on the sea or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So he certainly has the worst is behind us. We just have to get home now.
Yeah.
All right. On that, in a deep daze, does he think at all in that daze? Does he sleep well? How's his dreams? How's he when he walks there, not really saying anything? What goes on in his mind?
Mostly he's just in a daze, he can't really believe what has happened, and in that fight he had, he felt sort of a presence really, and he can't really describe it, but it wasn't like anything he had ever felt before. Similar to what happened at the Tower of Joy with the dreams, and he has certainly had crazy dreams these last couple of days. Sort of waking up and sweating a lot in the middle of the night, and can't really get any decent amount of sleep.
Does he remember what the dreams are about? Does he think about them at all, or is he not at that point yet?
He sees a lot of different faces in darkness, and sort of small flame in the distance somewhere that he's trying to get to but can't really reach.
All right. Perhaps his not sleeping well also aids in his very dazed state then. All right.
And he does talk a bit to Alaric and Sarasha about what to do once he actually recovers himself a bit.
What about our maiden knight, Lady Caladan?
Before she arrived in Castamere, she was brimming with optimism about how amazingly well this was going to go. That hasn't changed. with the perhaps the beautiful ignorance of youth or the certain mindedness. Bree is not deceptive in like her brimming of like confidence and power. Like those eyes that are so often full of anger are instead full of that was awesome and I'm awesome and we're doing something awesome and we're gonna get back to the Reach and continue to be awesome. Like her shoulder, where Rob Rain's longsword really cut into her, delivering that wound, that hurts. It's a constant reminder. But as is typical of Bree's mind, she thinks of it with pride, particularly because she also has the sword of Rob Rain that cut her in the first place, that she snatched from his hands. She favors that. Her smiles. She keeps those tight-lipped in like some sort of like half attempt to care about the pain and plight of other people. Like maybe I shouldn't be laughing, or maybe you shouldn't talk about how incredible that was, if only because it looks like some people over there who don't really matter because we beat them up are like dying on horses. Like who cares about like the Iron Taker? Whatever. Damon Payne, he threw himself off that wall. Big deal. If he was strong enough, he would have thrown Bree off of him instead of yielding, right? And Everin, I mean, he wasn't injured, but he, whatever. Point being that Bree is, if anything, her deception is to try and disguise how good of a mood she's in. She ends up busying herself. She hasn't worn this, in part because she's been continuing to do the touches on it, but she thinks that very soon it will be an appropriate time to wear the shadow skin cloak that she recovered from Dorn. She's just been slowly over time making those repairs, and she can't help but hum a bit to herself some like gallant song about like gallantry and like knights being heroic and saving the day. Mm-hmm. That's how she's lumped herself in. She also has the time to, despite what the Longthorn said, she'll like shyly glance over at the Longthorn when she thinks he isn't looking. And she's like fairly deceptive about that, trying to remain hidden. And tries to like weasel her way into like his orbit just to feel like his presence. Even though he might not look at her or speak to her, she just wants to feel that.
And Longthorn certainly has quite the presence. A lot of people are sort of meandering in and out, just sort of, in a way, perhaps feeling reassured that he's here and that he doesn't seem to have a really terrible mood about this whole thing. Perhaps it's because he was recently rescued by knights coming, inspired by his own valor to rescue, to bring him out of this prison that was, well, almost impossible to escape from. The gods had seen fit to grant him and his champions a victory, even though, well, they were perhaps not all as expectantly good at fighting as 7 opponent knights might have been. Perhaps it's because these opponents turned out to be decent knights who kept their word and who aided in the escape even after, well, they had lost to him. But he isn't really in a bad mood. He doesn't hum, he doesn't sing. He just sort of walks, sometimes talks a little bit with whoever is nearby, mostly about, asking them a bit of a personal question about home or some such. What village, how are things at home, Willem, for example. The person generally answers curtly, a little surprised, a little befuddled to be spoken to by him, Longthorn himself, with, of course, the exception of Ashra, who acts politely, to say the least. None of his usual shenanigans with the Longthorn, certainly. But he doesn't seem to feel the need to bow and scrape a whole lot, as many others do. His visage is pretty unintimidating, though. When he might catch Bree looking at him, he will simply give her a reassuring smile, perhaps. A smile that promises that things will be okay and that, will soon have more time to talk of things. The rest of you will also notice, perhaps, that he does spend a little bit of extra time just being around Bree, perhaps feeling responsible for her situation now that, well, he has taken her into his service. Something that is perhaps one of the most unorthodox things he's ever done. The general travel continues in this way, with Kievan scouting out ahead, as it were. It has, however, been 2 days, so if you would do your rolls for your recovery of injuries twice, then please.
Before, one thing I would like to bring up for people with injuries, for example, is the fact that so while I'm treating the 2 critically wounded, Kievan can also treat 2 people.
Right. I don't think Alaric and me need it though.
No,
Probably not.
I was fine.
I would have recommended Bree, but it's up to Bree if she wants to get treated.
Not by a peasant.
There we go.
Even will treat some of the other knights, as it turns out.
Mancer, I suppose, and or something like that can be treated. Eric
Yeah,
Presler.
whoever has the most injuries.
She might feel differently if she weren't like so optimistic and then like looking over at the longsword and Bree's like, no, I got this. No, like not gonna let some. A longsword might have knighted the peasant, but the peasant's a peasant. Come on. Got to be a little more serious than that. Keevan's also gonna have to work more before he can touch Bree. Gotta have to do a bit more.
There you go. You got me. You sold me. Okay.
I'll go ahead and roll that though. That's not a problem.
You said moderate people going on land, Manaka? Me? Be the they got people on foot who are using moderate.
Yes, they're traveling.
Which means injuries is DC 9.
Yeah, it's not
right. That's enough to recover my injury.
Yep, same here.
The Longthorn has also gained the armor and shield of Damon Payne, as he is not really able to use them right now. It's not exactly fitting his armor, but it is better than no armament at all.
Did you want me to roll Keevan's healing? Sure.
He had 2 injuries.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he had 2 injuries whenever Eric Prester smacked him.
Sure.
If Kievan has 2 injuries,
I don't think he can really do much then. Well, he
once,
could on injuries.
Yeah. For injuries, then I'm going to go ahead and say we use one of our fire milks on Kievan, which will grant him 1 extra dice on his test die.
All right.
Oh, an extra test die.
Yep. We have a limited supply.
He's in pain for a while.
Yeah, I need to make sure that Kievan's good.
Okay, let me just have a look. Did you say it was fire milk? Yeah.
Yes, I believe it's fire milk.
Yeah. 1 to endurance and healing. That's pretty cool. I like it.
We have a number of them.
All right. Then healing.
Unlimited supply. That would be enough to do the 2 easily enough.
Yeah. 2 that he has. Cool.
Right, then so it's not so much scouting, but then like the first like day or 2, even Keevan's weakened in this case for the fire milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the first 24 hours, then it's gone.
Yeah.
Luckily, the guard post you decide to raid is at the beginning of the 2nd day, meaning that, well, you got breakfast, which was nice. The group was rather large, and there wasn't really that much food stuck away there, probably both because, well, the Westlands doesn't have a whole lot of it, and it's wartime, and it's not just sitting in some guard post if it can actually be put to use somewhere. Food problems might become a thing, which is just another reason for the party to travel, sort of at a, well, mad dash, really, to get to somewhere more civilized, further down the mountain slope. The thought is, of course, also that if it comes to the worst, a horse can be killed and eaten. It will take some time to cook it appropriately. The general sort of people around, most don't talk much, except, of course, for Manser, who is loud and who doesn't seem to mind that not really many other people are talking, as he is, talking about the fight that just went down, speaking sometimes to the people who have lost, and sometimes to the people who have won here about what exactly happened and how this should be told, really, when you get somewhere. He's very true to what happened, as you were all really there. And, well, maybe it encourages you a little bit. It does sound pretty impressive when you sort of hear it as a tale.
How does he paint his own role in the 7-on-7?
It's not really embellishing his own role. It's more just really enjoying the descriptions of, when he took his fist and raised it up and then smashed it right into the Red Tusk's face and made his helmet tumble off, and just grabbed him and just punched him again and again until he just couldn't see anything, and he likes the violent details, that's for certain. Doesn't sound super knightly when he tells it, but
God, he earned himself a nemesis in that Red Tusk. Jeez.
but he did beat the Red Tusk with his bare hands. So perhaps Damon Payne is happy that that is the focus of the story, and not the other person who got beaten with bare hands.
That's right, Donald. No,
yeah. You inevitably one sort of evening when you're at camp, probably all exhausted at the speed and expediency of the travel. Here, not too far away, the horn signaling perhaps that your pursuers have decided to stop for the night as well. They have come ever closer, and as you sort of sit down, it dawns on at least those of you who know how to measure distance by horn blow, which surprisingly is quite a few in this little collection of people, that they will probably catch up with you on the morrow. If not, then definitely the day after. This is on everyone's faces, as some look at those who are wounded. Eyes go to Sarah Reisling, and it is Dorian who speaks up first. Longthorn, perhaps waiting as he sits here, just, watching people, gathering perhaps information in some way, observing what his knights are and who they are and how they behave and act together, learning about you. Maybe make some of you a little bit sort of stressed out to know that he is watching intently and not really hiding it. Storian sort of around the fire eating one of the boring Westerland rations, mostly it's like dried venison, some bread. I see sort of they will soon catch up with us, he says as he takes a bite of his bread, looking around for someone to, give some sort of reply.
Alaric will nod and say, at least hopefully they won't be heavily armoured knights. Or at least not many of them.
If they hadn't been, they would have caught us at this point. He looks around. He says, "Not all of us are ready to fight."
Enough of us are.
They know we travel along the road. My point is, perhaps it would be better if some of us stayed behind to make an ambush. Take them a little unawares, perhaps, though. Even if they are aware, they likely bring hounds who can smell our presence. We at least won't have to worry about those who can't fight. They can't be used against us as targets or hostages.
Alaric nods.
Ash will nudge slowly over his own food. Makes sense. I suppose we should choose who, though. As he looks at the horses. You know, without words, really deciding that they don't get to stay.
Everyone's like, damn it, I'm gonna be a knight!
He has been given the duty of taking care of Sarah Reisling and making sure that she, she doesn't really need it, but it seemed most appropriate that one of the men, the little group here, sort of have her well-being as their responsibility. Evren is a good rider, and she isn't half bad either. They can both share the horse without too much of an issue, really, and they probably would get tired faster than most. So it was decided that they would share that horse together. Eden Riceley sort of stands up dramatically. He says, "I'll do it. I'll stay behind."
I didn't expect anything
Manser
else.
stands up. You know, he's still wounded, clearly, but he says, "I wouldn't miss out."
Alaric just kind of like raises his food and says, "Yeah, I'll stay behind as well."
I'll still have some fight left in me.
Rupa sort of looks around, but Zashra looks to him and says, "You should probably go with the others. We'll need someone to protect them should the worst happen." He looks a little sour, but nods, understanding that he's being given an easy way out, so to speak. He might be a bit young, and he also doesn't really have the armor or weapons necessary. And well, the guard halberd didn't seem to be the best fit for his training.
You could try my greatsword if he really wants.
I did give him a longsword.
Oh, well, yeah, he has a longsword, but that's about it.
No. The spare set of armor that Bree has is a bit small for him, so.
Yeah.
It's a bit small for everyone.
Yeah.
There's
From
Steven would be up for it as well.
stands and says, "I think my wounds would make me more of an issue than an aid in this." He humbly recognizes that he will not fight. Ashra just sort of sits next to Dorian right now. Dorian sort of looking glumly at everyone, as he does. Ashra tapping him on the shoulder says, "The two of us are in as well." Dorian frowns at him,
Alaric
eats
grins.
his food, quietness.
Probably the first time Alaric's properly grinned in
Eric
couple of days.
looks over to Varen. You know, just, I'll fight.
You did catch what I said, right?
Yep.
Baron nods then.
Ren takes a moment looking at all these people volunteering themselves.
But we are knights now. It's a duty.
Bree speaks up and says, Ren, considering how you're responsible for keeping those, and she points at the horses, alive, it might be most prudent for you to stay with them. After all, should any of the hounds run past us, they are going to need some help on their own, and no hound is going to harm you.
Ren,
Kevin will pipe up at that and say, I think I'll stay behind to take care of the people and the horses. If it becomes a bad battle down there, then you might need Ren to take care of the people who get recently wounded. She looks to the people and the horses and say, they at least have been bound up and taken care of for a while. I wouldn't be as good at diagnosing and treating fresh wounds as Ren would.
Alaric will nod and say, I tend to agree.
Donald
Exactly.
says, if a hound comes, I should be quite capable of taking care of one of those.
if it's where I'm wanted, my blade is yours.
Then I guess we shall have it.
You know, and says, I shall participate in this as well.